Good afternoon, friends. Thank you so much for joining me this time. I'm honored that you have chosen to take this time uh, to meet with me um, and to practice with me. I hope that you get something valuable out of this in exchange for your time. Before we begin, I have a couple little business notes before we start. The first one is that this will be half an hour long. I should have mentioned that in the email. And that I will be watching the clock. I have several timekeeping devices around me and promise to not go past 2 o'clock p.m. or a half an hour if you're watching this after the original live stream. Um, so, uh, and I think this is important because when we're sitting, there can be a sense of vulnerability that we're no longer aware of time, and we may have the temptation to look at our devices in preparation for whatever it is we're next wanting to do, whatever we may feel we're going to be late for. And rest assured that if if you are prepared to be with me for half an hour or till 2 o'clock p.m. if you're watching the live stream, or both, that I will make sure that you will make it to your next YouTube meeting or whatever. I will take care of the time. I'll be the timekeeper, and you can relinquish that small responsibility. Of the many burdens we have right now, you can let go of that one for this next half hour. My second note is that I hope to make this a reoccurrence event, and I hope to keep doing it at this time at 1:30 on Tuesdays. I'll try and send out an email reminder on Monday with the link for it next week. But you're all grown-ups with your own grown-up web browsers. You can find YouTube channels and things. So feel free to come back and rewatch this video again if you find it useful and can use it again, or if there was a term that you didn't understand and you wanted to write it down and Google it and whatnot. Please feel free to do that. Also, please feel free to email me with suggestions or leave comments in the provided section that goes along with this video. All right, now on to a brief discussion about some best practices in meditation and a little bit as to what you can expect when we start to sort of appease your thinking analytical mind as to what this is all about. But first, posture. We sit typically in meditation. There are other forms of meditation. We're not going to do those today. And I know that we've all become experts in sitting in these last few months. If you were not already, you've now had ample time and training. But we're going to try and refine that a little bit. If you choose to sit in a chair, if that's what's around you, if that's what your computer setup is, then I would suggest trying to sit upright in the chair, and do that by sitting as forward in the chair as possible, scooching your butt to the front edge of the chair so that it's mostly only glutes that are on the chair and not your upper thighs resting on the chair as well, and to try and sit with a straight spine vertically and not slouching back into the luxuriant backrest that your chair may have. The purpose of this is to try and put some weight into your feet, take some of the weight out of the butts, and to prevent you from lounging and slouching as you sit. Alternately and more traditionally, we sit on cushions, and if you have a meditation cushion, then you probably already have a practice and know all about this stuff. You can look online and see tons of people make them in different shapes, and there are advantages and disadvantages to each. I would say maybe do that after the meditation. If you wish to sit on the floor on a cushion and you don't have one, you can use the edge of a couch cushion or a pillow or a stack of pillows, throw pillows or bed pillows. Regardless, and we'll look at this again in a minute, you wish to be sitting up a little bit above your feet and ankles. You want your butt to be raised above your feet and ankles, and I have some slides to show about that in a minute. If you're sitting on the floor and you're sitting on a hard surface like a linoleum floor or a hardwood floor or something of that flavor, I'd recommend laying out a blanket or a towel, finding a rug to sit on to give yourself just a little bit of padding, under the parts of your body that would be normally touching the hard floor. And let's move on to cushions. So if you choose to sit, the sort of common posture to sitting is referred in yoga as Sukhasana. I wish I had a photo of this from the front, but hindsight and all that. I'll describe for you what you'd see from the front, which is that I'm sitting in a very comfortable cross-legged posture. As a matter of fact, Sukhasana means easy pose. I've got one leg, one foot, one knee in closer to my groin, crotch area, and then the other one folded in front of that, farther away from that area. It's essentially arbitrary which foot you use. If you continue this practice, it's recommended you switch them up. When I first started sitting, I found that if I sat with one leg closer to me and the other leg further, that further out leg would fall asleep. So I always sat the other way. And then from time to time would explore mixing it up, and found that with time and practice that I could start to sit with the other leg in front, and now sort of mix it up. Here's a photo that will hopefully demonstrate what I'm talking about, having your knees lower to the ground than your sits bones, than your pelvis. This is meant to help you sit up straight. It's also helpful, and this may seem counterintuitive, to keeping your feet awake. They're actively being pressurized by your body weight on top of them. And in this pose, neither my butts nor my knees and my shins and my feet are taking all the weight. So there's a distribution there, a lightness in any one particular area as possible. Two things about this pose. One is that because one leg is in closer than the other, there's a certain asymmetry that you may experience, and that's where these cushions with the sort of the sandbaggy type quality are really useful. You can kind of sort of dig out space for whichever one of the sits bones wants to be lower and find some balance there. And also, maybe if you're in this pose, try and take a moment and see what you can do to try and level out the pelvis with or without the use of the cushion, knowing that it's entirely impossible. So you can put energy into it and get as close as you feel comfortable, and know that it's okay that you're not going to get there. If you also, with this pose, you'll notice that my knees, my legs are out wide, which is a hip opener. You may find that if you have had surgery or an injury on your hips, that this pose is extremely uncomfortable or painful, and do not sit with that suffering. Do not injure yourself further, would be my advice. An alternate pose that is also very comfortable, that is a part of the Zen tradition, is called Seiza, and that is basically a modified kneeling position. That is where my shins and feet are on the floor, and my body weight is split between that and the cushion. In this pose, I've taken the cushion I was sitting on before and flipped it vertically, 90 degrees vertically, so I'm sitting on the sort of the tall side of it, squishing it down. And again, I'm sharing the weight between my butts and my legs. In Seiza, you can also have your feet up and your toes kind of curled under. That is will provide a lot more sensation and foot opening, and either is acceptable. No wrong answers, I'm afraid. If you decide that you like Seiza, and it is, for a lot of people, the most comfortable position, then you may ultimately consider getting a Seiza bench or a meditation bench. There are many, many varieties and flavors of these too. I found this little gem on Etsy, and I really like it. The feet fold under for easy travel, which is a feature that some come with. That angle is sort of pre-built into it. The other main style is one that has more of a flat bench and a curved part that touches the floor, sort of like a rocking chair, and that allows you to kind of customize and rock around and find your preferred angle. Notice with this bench that my feet are under it. So again, my feet and my shins are not taking all of the weight. I'm putting a lot of weight into sitting on the bench, but then also some weight is is traveling down to my knees and my shins that way. Here's just one more photo of that at a slightly different angle. You can hopefully see that there is some space. So I'm not crunching my knees. I'm not putting a ton of weight into my shins and my shin muscles. And that is sitting. Moving on up the body, there are several positions your hands can be in. In yoga, this is called mudras. The most typical mudra is the Gyan mudra, which looks just like this. It's just A-OK. You can have your hands in this position, palms down over your knees with your fingers tracking out over your kneecaps. The circle of your thumb and forefinger kind of resting on the inside of your knees. And this is a great beginning posture. An alternative, which is the way I sit, is to turn my palms upward. And if you can see in my shoulders, this allows quite a bit more opening, allows for my chest to be forward, which I appreciate. Either of these postures is excellent and is a great foundation. The hands down helps to ground you, helps you to find focus and stability. Hands up, as you may imagine, helps with openness, not only of the posture, but also of consciousness. And both are excellent. A third posture, which is used in Zen, is called the Dhyan Mudra, or the Cosmic Mudra. And that is done by placing the right hand in the left hand and touching the thumbs together in this sort of cradle. Your thumbs go back so that they're sort of in line with the back of your hand, and this whole arrangement touches your abdomen just above your belly button. This is a much more active pose. You'll feel it in your shoulders, in your arms, in your back, and we will be sitting for a while, so you are welcome to try this pose out if you like, and then move to one of the others, or you're welcome to just jump into one of the others. In this pose, it is typical to try and play with how much your thumbs are pressing together, and to trying to, the Zen ideal is to be touching as lightly together as possible without touching. So if you find yourself bored and want to think of something else, that is a possibility, but hopefully you will have another object of attention to be interested in. Nextly, moving up, our torso and neck and spine. I mentioned this already. We want to try and sit with as straight a torso as possible. So that's having your shoulders above your hips, your ears in line with your shoulders and your hips, your neck straight, your neck and spine straight, which means tilting your head down a little bit, just a very slight bit. Think of it as trying to bring your chin in line with the floor, parallel to the floor. Lastly, your eyes. There's several things you can be doing with your eyes as a meditator. The one I would recommend if you're unsure is to just close them. Just be with your eyes closed and be with that experience, especially as a new meditator. Alternately, you can sit with your eyes softly open, and this is done in the Zen practice again. If you're doing this, I would recommend trying to sit in a place where you're not looking at something terribly intricate or interesting, not looking out the window or looking as I am at my computer, but looking at maybe a blank wall behind you or a carpet in front of you. And as you're looking, try not to be actively looking. Try to do what you're doing with your ears. Try to be passive about it, not having eye movements and seeking things out in your room or in your sphere of perception. Try not to be examining things and identifying them and judging them and having thoughts about them, but rather to just let the photons travel into your eyes and let that be a natural part of life, just as sounds travel into your ears and feelings travel through your body. Let it be passive. And there's a very rewarding practice in that as well. Nextly, and I'm taking a lot longer than I meant to, of course, I want to discuss what we will be doing very briefly. And what that will be is we will be sitting, and we will be focusing on an arbitrary object of attention. We call it object of attention. in this case, the breath. There are other objects of attention, which I will touch upon in future meditations. We will just focus on even a tiny aspect of that. We'll try and lightly and gently maintain a focus of that. We will try and hold our attention there without gripping, if that makes sense at all. We will endeavor to do this, and as you will find immediately or very, very quickly, your attention will very naturally wander to other things. Sounds around you, thoughts in your head, feelings about this practice, about my style, about anything will come into your mind and distract you from what you were thinking about your breath. And this is perfectly normal. This is what the brain does. This is what has served us our entire lives and brought us to this point. And for this period of time, this, now what looks like it'll be about 12 minutes of meditating, we can let go of that. We'll note that thing as it came up, whether it be a thought of something we wish we had done before sitting down, or the thing we wish we had said to that guy who was rude to us earlier, or that thing on our list later that we don't want to forget about. We'll note it, be curious about it, be open to it, maybe be playful with it, hold it lightly, and then let it go. Practicing letting it go is a huge part of this. As a matter of fact, the benefit that I find personally out of this, and there are many benefits to this practice, but the benefit I find most is the developing of this skill and being able to use it outside of the practice. So if I'm focusing on something at work, I can be gripping it too tightly. I can be holding on to it too much. I can be strangling it, which might not be healthy. It might be preventing me from seeing ways that others could be helping me, or ways that I could be doing it differently. Or maybe that it's not really as important as I'm making it out to be in the first place. So trying to hold it lightly, and developing the skill to do that. I don't think that's something that comes easily to us. And then next, the skill of being mindful and aware and curious of when our attention is taken away from that. And by what? By what the things that are in our field of perception and consciousness that act as distractors when we want to be focused on something. Being acquainted with that inventory of distractions. And a third advantage that I think just springs naturally out of this is that we're giving ourselves the time to ponder these things. I think a lot of times that we have these breakthroughs or major realizations are times that we're trying to do something else, whether it be in the shower or focus on work or drive or whatever else. And that's great. And there's a lot of neuroscience about why that is such a creative time for us. But in a sense, we have to steal that. And now in the next few minutes, we get to give that to ourselves. We get to actively say, this is the time for those things to arise, for us to acknowledge them and for them to go away. Once we acknowledge the thing, once we see the thing for what it is, and we let it go, we then mindfully bring our attention back to our object. I sometimes think of this as like that machine in the old video game arcade that was the claw. It'd come out, you'd move it and try and put it right over the thing you wanted, the stuffed animal or the whatever, and it would go down and it would always not pick it up. But then afterwards, it would return to the corner and sit there waiting for your next quarter. I think of this kind of like that move, that like, okay, we're done grabbing for the thing, and we're going to go back to our original resting position and try again. And that's what we're going to do for what looks like about 10 minutes now. So let us find our seat, get comfy, take this moment to get comfy. If you've been sitting with one leg crossed in front of the other and you're over that now, try the other way. If this whole thing isn't going to work for you, feel free to move to a chair or whatever you need. take this time to be in conversation with your body, to let it tell you what you need, because we're going to be sitting in quiet for 10 minutes, close, near quiet for 10 minutes. And that is, it's kind of a big ask if you've never done it before. So take that time, stretch a little bit, cough, pick your nose. I'm not going to pick my nose because there's this green light on in front of me, but no one can see you. Believe me, you're safe. And when you're ready, close your eyes and begin to settle into the breath. And we'll do this by taking 3 large, healthy, intentional breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Again, in through the nose and out through the mouth. One last time, and maybe this time in through the nose and in through the nose and out through the nose. And now that we've taken control of our breath, let's try and give that control back to our system that breathes for us whenever we're thinking about other things. Just let it return to its normal, more shallow, regular pattern. And let's bring our attention to one particular embodiment, one piece of this breath experience. People frequently think of their nose or their sinuses, some place that they can actually feel the air traveling. In on the inhale, out on the exhale. Cooler on the inhale, slightly warmer on the exhale. Or you can think about your stomach or your chest, some place where you feel the movement of your body as you inhale and exhale against your clothing. And this, to be honest, is what I prefer. The feeling of my clothing draping differently on me as my stomach expands out on the in-breath and recedes and slides off slightly on the out-breath. Find this area and let it be just for now. You can pick a different area next time. There are plenty of opportunity for next times. And just explore this. Explore this breath coming in and what that really feels like. Explore this breath leaving the body and what that feels like. I think even within this intentional restriction of focus on our awareness of breath in this one particular area, there can still be a universe of sensations, and ones that we have maybe never even considered before. And for now, just this breath coming in. Just this breath going out. The breath is an excellent object of focus for a lot of reasons. A big one for me is playing with the fact that it's something we feel or something we control. It's something that is happening to us or something that we are causing to happen. And it is both of ours for our entire life. Our breath is in many ways our most constant companion. And yet it is either something we are controlling or something that is happening without our control for that entire time. That breath coming in, that breath coming out. Using the breath to mark our place in time and space. Where am I right now? Right now I'm breathing in. And now I'm breathing out. And I'm choosing. And the choice is very important. I'm choosing to focus on this breathing in. Choosing to focus on this breathing out. Now, as I alluded to already, you may be finding that it's very difficult to maintain focus on this one thing. Your thoughts may be going everywhere at once. Your thoughts may be shouting inside your head to be listened to. It may be no sooner than you start thinking about an aspect of your breath than you're off on something else. And this is okay. This is part of the practice. Remember, this is step 2. You're already on step 2. You're beating some people. You're winning. And now that you're here, now that you're away from your breath, just note this thing. Accept it. Let it be. Acknowledge its worth. Acknowledge its value. Following these impulses, these instincts, and these thoughts, these feelings, has served you well for your whole life. And it will continue to for a very long time. And just right now, just for right now, just play with, just experiment with the idea of letting that thought go. Letting it drift out of your held consciousness like water through your fingers. Let it drift away. Let it drift back into wherever it came from. And with love and compassion for yourself, for your wonderful self, bring your focus, train your spotlight back on whatever element of your breath, of the world of breath that you have chosen to. Bring it back to your awareness of this breath, inhaling, and this breath, exhaling. And like that, it is 1:59, or 29 minutes and 30 seconds if you've been doing this in the pre-recorded manner. So thank you kindly. I recommend you take a quick stretch up, get a little longer in the back. If you have the space to maybe fold forward and stretch your lower back, which has been doing all this work. Take a couple more conscious breaths. Take your time standing up, because you've been sitting a while. Explore that and feel that. That's our time for today. I hope you've gotten something valuable out of this. I hope to see you again in the future. Be well, be safe, Be comfortable. Try and find ease in your life. Namaste.